All right, we are back. This is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show. It's Tuesday. It's about 8:21 p.m. In the studio tonight, we have Marisa Allen. She is a Virgin Islands educator. Welcome to our studio tonight. There she is right there.
Hello, and thank you. Welcome to, thank you. Thank you to Mr. Keith Edwards, who's a parent at Charles H. Emanuel, for inviting me here, the host, for having me here.
Okay. Well, we just wanted to get you on the show, as I was saying earlier, to get a bird's eye view of the whole education process here. Um, and you're a teacher. Can you just give a little insight into your like background and how you I guess come to be a teacher here before we kind of get into it a little bit?
Okay, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I started out in education. I kind of evolved in it. My family had some early learning centers, and being in family business, you were obligated to participate. So I just worked in some early learning centers. Then I had children. I was heavily involved in the school, did volunteering, uh, after school programs, and eventually I decided, well, why not make it a profession? And that's what I did. I currently attend UVI to receive a degree in elementary education, eventually secondary, to teach business and accounting. So I'm at Charles H. Emanuel right now, working and going to school. Also, I have an after-school program that I'm a program coordinator for, servicing students 3rd through 6th grade through a 21st Century grant, which was a grant offered by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Education. So
Okay.
sort of evolved into this education.
Okay. Um, so how long have you been teaching? So Charles Emmanuel is just the only school you've been working here at, or has it been other schools as well?
Here in the Virgin Islands, Charles H. Emanuel is my first. Actually, when I came to the Virgin Islands, I started in human resource, but my passion was working in the schools. So I eventually asked to be transferred, and Charles H. was my first school, and I'm very happy there. Pleased with my colleagues. We work hard, we care, and we're making a difference.
Okay, that's what's most important. Um, so tell us a little bit about just being a teacher here. So you didn't do any teaching in the States.
I did early learning teaching,
Okay.
which would be your pre-K.
Pre-K?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So I've been doing that. I've been teaching since 1994.
Okay. Okay. Um, so now you're here and you're at Charles H. So what is it like? I mean, you're here and you're dealing with the kids. We all hear so many different stories about the schools, and we'll start. Let's start with the good stuff. Let's start with the good stuff that's going on with the schools here. Um, can you share some good things, some positive things that are happening there at the schools?
Well, there's always positive. I want to start out by recognizing some of my colleagues. I have a mentor, Miss Mabel Lynch Henry. She's close to her 30 years. She's the epitome of what an educator should be. I respect her highly, and I am pleased to be learning from her still. I have other colleagues, Marion Cromwell. I have a colleague that I really looked up to, Miguelina Simmons. She went away to Texas, and she's having her challenges there. So sometimes we think we have it difficult where we are, but then you go away and you realize that what you thought was so bad isn't so bad. So I would have to say my colleagues is a very positive influence on me and the students. In such a trying time, not only economically, but the education system, I feel, is struggling within itself to find out what's the right thing to do. So, you have your teachers, you have your students that are caught up in the politics, the trying to figure it out. Is it Common Core this year, and next year is it going to be something else? So the students at Charles H. Emmanuel are very good to have, are very blessed to have the staff that we have.
Okay. Go ahead, Sue.
Miss Allen, you mentioned something about the Common Core. Is do you feel the Common Core is working for us here in the territory, or we should change this curriculum?
Well, it's my personal belief that we could probably come up with a comparable curriculum on our own. It would be very tedious. It would be hard work. I don't believe we should just adopt everything that is put out there for us. There are some states that have opted for waivers because they feel they can come up with better assessments. So I'm sure it's a challenge for the Department of Education to come up with something comparable. But, Common Core, it got off to a rocky start. I wouldn't say that it is a bad curriculum. It's actually an innovative and creative type of curriculum. It's really allowing teachers to now go back and be creative. It's just providing different standards that you have to say you're aligning your teachings to. So really Common Core is more of a standard as opposed to it's telling you exactly what to teach and when to teach it. Definitely got rid of some of the pacing guides because we all know that there's differentiated learning in the classroom. So Common Core allows you that freedom and that ability to be to cater to the different learning abilities.
Okay.
Teachers. You mentioned some of your teachers there, and I guess the teachers are struggling with the kids in school in a sense. How do you guys deal with that? I mean, dealing with I guess I don't want to say disruptive. I guess probably the safest word to use. Slightly disruptive kids. How are you guys dealing with that?
Well, I could come up with so many adjectives to describe our students,
Okay.
but not all negative, a lot of positive. Our students have a different learning style than we had when we were coming up. And they have their own struggles within their households. I think what's really lacking is that we as the educators will see students that need extra, be it counseling, be it some sort of extracurricula. And although we have counselors in our schools, there still needs to be some connection to the community. There should be agencies that are adopting schools, providing opportunities for these students. The students are just looking toward the future, and right now it's a little bleak for them. I mean, they go home, the adults are complaining. They go to school, the schools are complaining, and so they hear that, and we have to be mindful what we're saying around children.
Right.
Because we tend to make them lose hope, because at the point where we are, we feel so much is going wrong. So we just have to be uplifting to these students and provide opportunities when we see these students that are needing the extra help.
So, Ms. Allen, from a teacher's perspective, how can education be improved in the territory? Basically, in the territory and a whole. From your point of view, how can we bring up the standard of education here in the territory?
One, it needs to be more collaboration between administration and teachers, not adversity. We don't need to be adversaries. We need to be partners. We need to bring in the community. It can't be done with just the teacher. It can't be done with administration. It has to be a collaborative effort with the student, have to take responsibility for their actions. Parents definitely have to be more involved. Then you have the school and you have the community. And with those four components, we can improve education tremendously. But it's too much division. I'm sorry to say. It's just a lot of division.
Now, you talk about education, so the Department of Education is what you're talking about, and the teachers.
Yes.
Okay, okay. What would can you be a little more specific on that? um, why do you say that they we need better unity between teachers and Department of Education?
Well, because there are decisions that are made that sound good on from the top and look good on paper, but then as it transitions down into the classroom, you don't see it's not making that connection. So I just believe that when certain decisions, monumental decisions, are being made, we should just sit down at the table collaboratively and see what works, and if it doesn't, let's not do the blame game and start pointing fingers at one another. I mean, we're trying to teach the children about conflict resolution and being a part of the community, but yet they see the conflict being played out in the media, on the radio. The school calendar that was out, it was, the community was portrayed that teachers just wanted money. It had nothing to do with money as the majority. It was different things within that calendar that you would have to have been an educator and involved in education to see.
Is that issue with the calendar all resolved? Because I know it was a hot button at one time and it kind of died off. But is that like completely?
No, it's not resolved. I mean, the law was repealed, but I believe that it's a possibility that somebody could introduce it again, and then we'd be back at it, once again. And the teachers were not so much against the calendar as it was the fact of how the calendar was being used to implement certain professional developments, or our compensation was tied to days that we would regularly have had off. So it was just a lot of issues that was tied with it. I don't think it's resolved, but for now it's quiet.
So next, at the end of this school year, going into the next school year, we could have this issue again?
Well, no, because the law has been repealed, but that's not to say that you don't have those advocates that were in favor of it,
okay,
that wouldn't try to bring it back.
Okay.
So, Ms. Allen, right now, as this time, when they were going to change the calendar, which one was preferable? The present one where it was, the one where it was at, or the present one where it's at now?
Well, hindsight being 2020, now that you look at it, we're actually still going to be in school just as long, and you have these additional professional development days, because based on the law, a student has to attend 180 days. But if you notice, we've had a lot of professional development days.
Yes, since school just started.
Right. So that's just really being tacked on the end. But the calendar, the intentions of the calendar was good. Finishing up. I definitely was loving getting out in May, and like they say, the high school students needing to have certain things done to be competitive in the states or enter the colleges. But I feel we had over a year to get it right, and I said we didn't get it right in enough time.
Okay. I want to ask you, you mentioned that I guess this setting of teachers and the Department of Education, do they involve you guys in this, or this is just something that any direction they think about it on themselves and then just kind of push it down on the teachers? I mean, how does that work?
I love your choice of words. Well, let's say, for instance, we have this new issue, the teacher evaluation. Okay, they did involve the union and some other professionals on the start of it, but now it's being implemented and teachers are being required to do all these new things. So it's like you're training while you're implementing. And, it becomes very difficult. So, on one hand, we're being, how should I say, contacted and asked to participate, but then when it comes to the implementation,
Ye-
we really just have to go with what's being mandated. So right now we're trying to get a moratorium on that the new teacher evaluation. It's not that we're against the teacher evaluation. It's just that we feel we need more time to train and learn about it. The administrators who will be the one doing the evaluation needs the time to train before it's implemented. And if it's not, it could be quite detrimental, as our union president said, because it could be eventually tied to pay and could lead to termination.
That's what I was about to ask you if this evaluation gonna make your pay increase or decrease according to what ratings you get.
Yeah, it could make it decrease. And what's quite interesting is that we're still waiting on increases in our pay from 2009.
From a legal contract that you all signed, right?
Exactly. So you can implement something that could take away pay, but where is the pay we're already due?
Right. Okay.
So what's the status on that? I mean, is that coming, or are they talking about it, or is it just floating out there?
I can't really speak too much on it. I know that our union president was in contact with the administration to discuss that.
Okay.
I want to switch gears here. I want to go back to the collaboration. You mentioned the teachers and administrators, parents, schools, and the communities. The parents, to me, is the first university any child is gonna get before they come into the school. So, how are you gonna make these parents more involved, to get more involved in the child's life with the homework, the after schools, and all of these things that takes place? Because I know it's a very difficult task, because I keep a little after school too in the afternoon where I'm at, and sometimes I pick up a child, I go to a child book, and I see that he got homework in here. I might be in May and he got homework from let's say March, February, so, and I keep stressing, why is nobody reading, nobody checking your book? So how is that working out with you in the school?
Well, I mean, it's one of our biggest challenges, I would have to say. When you talk about charter schools and public school, I think the only difference between their success and ours is parental involvement. Their child cannot be in a charter school if they are not at the PTA meetings, if they don't do classroom visits, if they don't adhere to certain guidelines. Well, in public school, we don't require much of parents. And I don't want to seem like I'm bashing parents. I'm a parent. I valued education from birth. And, like you say, you have to go through that child's book bag. I went through my children's book bag all the way through high school. So, you never stop pushing education. And, in the defense of some parents, I know you're working 2 jobs. Now you're working from 9 to 5 and you're tired, and, you got to think about meals. But on the weekend, I'm a type of educator that I tell my students, go home with all of your books on the weekend, because to me, then that's some extra days that you can spend with the parent, going over what you did during the week, and the parent can keep abreast of what their child education is all about. I don't think a parent should wait until their child reaches 6th grade to realize they're not reading and then want to sue the department.
The department, yeah.
Yeah, you need to know if your child's reading by 1st grade, because even if you're standing there washing dishes, you could tell the child, sit there and read
Bring
to
a
me.
book and read to me. That's right.
So parents need to make sure their children are reading. Yes, teachers believe they're miracle workers because we do work
Yes,
miracles.
definitely, definitely. And I have to take my hat off to any teacher right now because in this time and age, when we grow up and how the children that are being grown up today is a whole bunch of distraction right now. So it's from the time they get in the classroom, I know even before class starts, your day starts.
Yes, it does. I mean, you're teaching not only the academics, you're teaching life skills.
Yes.
When you're seeing students coming in with hats on their head and you're telling them young men don't wear hats inside, or the young girls are coming in and needing a little touch up here and there. We're having to teach them, you can't just always wait on mommy. Some things you have to do for yourself. So it's teaching more than just the books. It's teaching the life skills.
Okay. Do you get a lot of parent involvement? So I know when my son was coming up, I used to go to his school, but oh, there, Mr. Christian, how you doing? Mr. Christian, how you doing? And this, that, and the other. But are parents really doing that these days? Is it? I mean, getting involved?
You have a few. You do. You have a few, and you have those that have their responsibilities to go to work, and they'll tell you, call me if you have any issues. But it's not enough. I'm sorry, it's just not enough. We
Okay.
need more of it. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here
Okay.
because you gave me the forum, and I just gotta say.
Go right ahead.
I noticed that in some states they can deny people public assistance for if they suspect you've been doing drugs. Okay? But you have some people on public assistance. Why not say you're required to come and be involved in the school? I'm not looking to deprive anybody, because when you take benefits away from a parent, you're taking it away from the child. So I'm not an advocate for that. But if you can come up with a law that says, if I suspect you've been doing drugs, I'm going to take your food away. Why can't we say be involved in the school?
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
Talk a little bit too about the condition of the schools, if you can. We hear in the news that the roofs are falling down, doors are coming off. I know there was a thing too of they needed like $500,000 for books. I mean, do you guys have books? Are they current? I know there's a thing too of teachers having to go to Office Max, and I see it all the time. 2 and 3 carts of rulers and erasers, and I mean, is this stuff really real, or is this stuff just sort of fabricated to just get us all a little worried?
Everything you hear is true.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, the buildings are in need of repair. Students are needing books. Teachers are buying their own supplies. Everything you hear is true.
Okay.
So, Ms. Allen, how that makes you feel as an educator?
It can be frustrating. I mean, like today, me and another teacher, we were, going around the school looking for some books for students because the class sizes have gotten a larger.
Uh-huh.
So you're
What-
needing more materials.
What are the class sizes? Are they bigger than normal, or they're right at what is sort of the standard?
Well, contractual, we can have up to 30 students
For one teacher?
for one teacher.
Okay. Is that too much, or that's normal?
From an educator's perspective, that's too much.
That's too much.
Yeah,
Okay.
and again, when you bring up charter schools and hail them as successes, their class sizes are not. They recognize that if you're wanting those students to get that teacher's touch, it needs to be a smaller class size for sure.
Okay.
And then not only that, the size of the classroom itself. Are we taking into account the desk, the chairs, the books,
Yes.
things that are taking up space also in the classroom?
Okay. So when you talk about the books, so we're using outdated books.
No, we're not using outdated books. It's either not enough, or over the years we had some consumables, which are probably your workbooks, and you used to have one for the students. I think I heard that at one time they used to charge the parents for consumables, which is something we can consider. But I per capita what we're getting for students, I think we can, give the students a consumable to use to take home, and so teachers are having to be very creative with giving instruction and homework with limited resources.
Miss
Okay.
Allen, what grade you teach?
I work with sixth grade, but sixth and fifth, and sometimes third.
Okay. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. Let Miss Allen catch her breath here. This is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show.
201-9005.
That's how you get a hold of us.
Call a friend, tell a friend.
We'll be right back. All right. We are back. This is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Get a hold of us tonight, 340-201-9005. Hit us up on Facebook or hit us up on Twitter. Tweet with us. Text with us as well. And actually, one important thing is in order to see this show, hopefully you're already watching it, but tell your friend or your neighbor or your aunt or your uncle, in order to see this show, you have to go to our website, streaming live from the vi.com. When you get on that website, go to the click on the Watch Us tab, Watch Us Live tab, and guess what? You will see us live. Our guest tonight is Marisa Allen. There she is. She's a Virgin Islands educator. I just want to continue on with just some general questions about the whole education system here. So one of the things that we've been hearing, actually, I think we have a call here. Let's see if we can. I can do this without screwing something up here. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, good evening. Are you guys open for, is the floor been open for people to talk?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have a question for Miss Allen? Hello?
Well, not really. I'll call back when, how long is the show?
Until. I mean, we go 8 p.m. until.
I didn't really have a question. I kind of had a comment.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sure. You're live right now. Everybody's hearing you all over the world.
Well,
They're hearing you right now. Go ahead and make your comment.
Okay, good evening. I was just calling to say that she is doing such a wonderful job representing the educators of the Virgin Islands. And I just wanted to comment in reference to, what we can do. There was a question on the floor about what we can do to help, make the education community better or to help make education better. And I just basically think that she really did a good job explaining that, it has to be a collaborative effort. It takes a community to raise a child, and we have kind of drifted away from that, and that we kind of continuously point things.
Hello?
you listen to your
Yes.
monitor. So just go ahead and talk. Just talk.
Yes.
Just keep talking.
Okay, no, I was just, I was saying it takes a village to raise a child, and, there should be a collaborative effort between district office, building administrators, teachers, community representatives, students, and especially parents. And a lot of times, as an educator myself, I know that a lot of fingers are pointed at educators,
Right.
but a lot of responsibility is not put on parents in terms of, how much effort are they putting into their child's education and how much is education being valued in the home.
Right.
I understand that with the cost of living in the Virgin Islands, some parents have to work 2 and 3 jobs to keep afloat. But at the same time, education is the rock that's
That's
going to
the key.
help our community flow.
That's
So, I'm just saying that let's just continue to work together, provide resources, especially technological resources,
Right.
that are going to help our children be college and career ready in the future and competitively, globally competitive. So continue to do the great job that you guys are doing, and have a great day.
Thank you much for the call. Okay.
Bye bye.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
And
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Allen, one question has been burning me to ask you before we go, that the territory in a whole has a high dropout rate. We could graduate a class every year with amount of students drop out of school. Um, they tell us at third grade they start to make prisons. That's where it comes in and make the evaluation for prison and know how many students gonna be dropping out of school, and they could build the amount of prisons. You as an educator inside there now, what can we do to stop this high rate of dropout, especially from a young age? For me, I just moved back here to St. Croix about 5 years now, and I'm seeing young men, young women drop out of school in the sixth grade, in the seventh grade, in the eighth grade, and what was baffling to me is that there's an adult in the home also.
Well, I think what we have to do is stop making the school a too restricted. We need to bring back the love of learning and take some of these mandates off of the teachers' back. Let them be free to develop that students' love of learning. You're going to get a lot of students now that are coming in without that educational foundation in the homes like it did maybe when we were coming in the school system. But when a teacher recognizes certain things a student may need outside of the norm, not necessarily counseling, they could just possibly need special attention or extracurricular. You have to find out what each student, we can't clump them together
Right.
and have a fix all. You have to find out what interests that student. If that student loves to sing, giving them assessment and tell them to sing the answers, and they're feeling a sense of hopelessness. When you're getting students coming to you in sixth grade that can't read, and they tell you what's the point, they know they're not gonna be as successful. They're in classroom with students that are excelling, and they're just waiting. I had a student not too long ago said, "Can't you drop out at some grade or what the old law used to be?" And I say, "No, they changed the law. Now you have to be 18." And we struggle with that student every day. That to motivate him to still want to learn.
Right.
So, it's a struggle. It's a daily struggle. It's an hourly struggle. So we just have to bring back the love of learning, make school more exciting, do something different in the classrooms, develop some rooms that offer non-conventional type of learning.
Right.
Make it interesting. Make the students want to come.
Are these kind of things like on the Department of Education's list of things to do or things to look at?
I'm not sure. We express a lot of concerns to our counselors. We don't know what's the procedure after that. Like I say, we got to pull that community in. I know there was a repair shop in St. Thomas that students were able to go and get some internship, and it eventually could lead to jobs.
Okay, hold on a second here. We got another call coming in here. Let me just press this button here. It's your Perspective Talk Show.
Hi.
Hello, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you loud and clear. And so can our listeners all over the world. So,
Woot woot. Hey, listeners.
you have a question for our guest tonight?
Yes, I'm interested to know, or I guess my question is, how about getting teachers that's more enthused about teaching and more, happy to be around kids and stuff? Because there's a lot of teachers out here that are just in it for that paycheck. They have their bills and their life that they're trying to maintain. So they're not really doing anything to engage. Sure, all of the things that you said are great, but without the vessel to actually bring forth that, it's not going to happen. We could decorate the classrooms, the schools, and everything, but we need the teachers to be more engaged and more wanting to teach the children. They're with them all day, almost every day of the year. So I overcome the whole getting frustrated with a child or the children. But I mean, you have to be into it and want it, and engage. Make them happy to want to be you and see you and be around you. Not every day time be like, Mommy, I don't like my teacher. Mommy, my teacher mean. Mommy, my teacher so boring. Mommy, I don't like to go to school.
Any thoughts on that, Miss?
School is boring. That's my point of view. So you got.
Well, I won't say school is boring. I invite you to Charles H. Emanuel to come into some of the classroom. We have a science teacher, 5th grade. Her name is Meredith Herman. I'm always in awe when I go into her class. Ms. Mabel Henry, up, energized, every day, active. And if people think teachers are in this profession for the pay, please research, because it's not a lot of pay. I mean, in order for you to really make money, you have to have been in it for years. And which is one of the problems with getting the new teachers to come here to the Virgin Islands, because the pay is well below the national average. I think I heard maybe a couple of semesters ago, we only had one graduate from the School of Education. That is so sad. I mean, that we're not producing teachers here in the Virgin Islands. So,
Let me ask you, what is a good salary for a teacher?
Starting.
well, it's kind of hard to say, because I would say a good salary starting would be $45,000.
Okay.
That's
Fair
a
enough.
good
That's fair,
starting
yes,
salary.
Definitely.
Okay.
Here in the Virgin Islands, I think it's somewhere around 32.
Okay. Which is
That's
very, very, very low.
Very low.
Yes.
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 Another question I wanted to ask you too. One of the senators that got into the office, well known, Kurt VLA. He's a principal, was a principal, or still is. I'm not sure what his status is, but I think
Was.
he was okay. He has a push to get, if I'm not mistaken, to get make some initiatives, make some better initiatives for school teachers, pay, and some other things. Did you get in? Did you follow any of that kind of stuff? I mean, were you aligned? Did it make sense, or was he just kind of reaching?
Well, to me, his initiative was probably closer to more realistic than to say you're going to increase education by 500 jobs. What teachers are concerned about is if you're going to be bringing in, let's say, 100 teachers, where's the money coming from? And in order to get those 100 teachers, a lot of them, the majority of them, will have to come
From away.
from the States.
Right.
And they're not coming here for this salary, along with going in and paying $6 for a gallon
Yes,
of milk.
Yes.
Okay? They're not going to do it. So now, are you going to offer them more money? Now, if you do that, what about the teachers that have stuck here and endured the 8% cut,
Cuts.
all of that?
Yes,
What
yes.
incentive when we're still waiting on our pay from 2009? I mean, that's just going to be very, very interesting to see.
Okay. One of the things we like to ask Ms. Allen, is there anything that that you want to mention?
Well, I got a response that someone said, "Oh, I'm for charter school." I'm for education. I don't go out and advocate for charter school. I really don't even like the word charter school. I prefer the term community schools. You have a building in a community. You service those students in the community. You vie for those federal funds. Instead of them coming straight to the state and one or two people are dictating where and how the money is spent, you have other people with different ideas that can say, send some of it this way. Let's educate the students in this community. I know some of the fear of charter school is that a lot of people want to go get the elite students so that they can have a high success
Okay.
rate, but actually community schools caters would, and this is speaking with some of the teachers,
Okay.
that they would cater to the most needy to show. To me, is you show more success bringing a student up than just claiming a student with natural talents.
Okay.
So, but I'm definitely for public education, which community schools can be public educators, public funds, teachers. You can still have unions, but what you would have, what the public school don't have, is maybe a governing board. Like in Chicago, you have your school systems with different districts. So you have a small group deciding what's happening in their community. So they're more in tune with what the community needs are, as opposed to one or two administrative heads servicing 2 islands, 3 islands, number of schools. So, I'm about education. How can we give the best education to the students? And those same teachers that would be in these community schools or charter schools, whatever you want to call them, are our same teachers.
All right, Miss Allen, we have another call coming in here. Good night. This is the It's Your Perspective talk show.
Yeah, good night. Very interesting topic tonight, Miss Allen. What I'd like to know is, what part does the PTA play in as far as the function in the schools? Is it still an entity that exists? And if it does, what can it do to help enhance the jobs of the teachers?
Well, you have some schools with very active PTAs, and you have some schools with non-active PTAs. I think, again, that collaborative effort is critical and crucial to the success of the students and even the schools. I would like to see PTA reach out to the teachers more. I understand they're a parents organization, but it's a parent-teacher-student concept. So I would like to see PTA maybe for Teacher Appreciation Week or Education Appreciation Week. PTA, reach out to some of the schools, put on, have a little breakfast, a little token of something to show teachers that you appreciate, their efforts and what they're doing. So again, it goes back to collaboration.
Do you have PTAs at Charles, Miss Allen?
We just recently started back having our PTA meetings, which I was happy to see.
Yes.
Again, I think we had an excellent president at one time, and then when her child moved on or grandchild moved on, then she moved on to the next school. So, it just needs to be, and we need to be grooming at all times. Reach out to those kindergarten parents who are just coming in the system. Embrace them, groom them, move them on, so that as your child grow and you move out, here comes a new leadership that's coming in to take its place.
Okay, Miss Allen, we have, I guess
Another
the call.
question?
Yeah, another question from the same caller.
What would you recommend as an incentive for fathers to take more, to show themselves more in the school, or to take more interest in the school as fathers? Or do you think that How do you think that fathers playing a role in the child's life, school's educational life? How do you think that would help? Do you think that it would have an impact as a father in contrast to the mom? It's just seeing mom. What do you think fathers would do as far as helping to push that incentive for education in the young children, the young child?
Well, fathers, once we realize the importance of fathers in these children's lives, I think we could turn this civilization around. We welcome fathers. You have to hail up those fathers who do make that extra effort. The gentleman that invited me here, Mr. Keith Edwards, was very involved in his son's academics. He would come to the school, he would sit, he would mentor some of the students. So we need more of that. But just as much as we need them in the schools, they need them in the homes. So even if they can't be in the same home, they spend that time. And there was a Father's March. I love that Father's March back to school. They encourage the fathers to walk
And
their.
the first day of school, right?
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
that was an excellent idea. And those students feel very proud because everybody expects to see mom, but I see a little bit more pushed out chests when dads walk the students in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miss Allen, one question I wanted to ask you about is computers in the school. How is education here doing with that? I mean, are we close to having every student with a computer, or is it maybe one or two per class, or is it what's the status on that?
Well, most schools have very good computer labs, I would say. So the students have opportunities to get exposed to that technology, but one lab servicing a whole school can be quite challenging.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to see more computers in the classroom. If, especially with this new assessment that's coming up, the Smarter Balance, which is computer based, those students need every opportunity to get that experience on the computer. So, I mean, there needs to be at least 6 computers in every classroom, minimum, so that students can access different programs. When they talk about differentiated learning, they're looking for teachers to engage students. Well, you may be working with the accelerated group, and then you have another group that could be accessing the computers at that time. And, so more computers do need to be in the classroom.
Quick question, Miss Allen. They had a talk about eliminating books and just having e-books now. Would as a educator, how does that work for you? Do you prefer books or you prefer e-books?
I prefer both. I believe a student needs to touch a book. They need to learn the respect of a book. They need to know how to handle a book, even repair books, okay? Because, a lot of our history are in these books.
Yes.
Now, if the power goes off or the server goes down, what is the student to do? Should they still be left not being able to? I mean, they would love that. Oh, I couldn't do my homework
Homework because WAPA.
yeah, the server was down. So, I'm an advocate for both. I mean, I love technology. I think it can be used in such positive ways, but I'm kind of old school. I used to love to read, and I love carrying a book around. So,
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, you should still keep the books.
Keep the books. Okay. Well, as I was asking, is there anything that you wanted to sort of touch on that you think is important as you're here, that you want our listening public to know about education in general, or more specifically here in the Virgin Islands?
Well, there's been talk about Charles H. Emanuel closing, and for the record, I like to say, Charles H. produces quality students. Just go and look when you go to Woodson's Val and promotions, and you see the Val and the Sals. A lot of them, especially for the last 2 or 3, maybe 4 years, those students came from Charles H. Emanuel.
Right.
So I like to put that out there because we're starting to get a negative reputation. I invite the community, just stop into any public school. Before you sit with your friends and talk or complain, visit a public school, see what it is like. Go to a school that maybe your child or your relative does not go to, and then go to your child or relative school. Do some comparing. Ask why would one school have one thing and another school doesn't. But I like to say we don't want Charles H. Emanuel to close. We hope the community fights and advocate to keep the school open. I think we're doing great things. We have a student government that has been exceptional for the last couple of years. We were told we had one of the best PBIS, which is a behavioral initiative. We were told we had one of the best rollouts. So we're doing great things at Charles H. Emanuel, and I would hate to see it close. So I'm asking the community, keep a heads up when you hear that. And this AYP, notice you're not hearing it as much anymore because you're getting ready to get the Smarter Balance test rolled out. And the way this test is designed is something totally different than anything our students have been exposed to, which are now being exposed to. So I encourage the community, check out Smarter Balance. They have practice tests. You go try it. And you're going to start to see that the AYP is not going to be as significant anymore because it's going to be very hard to meet. So that's one thing. The next thing is, we have a system here of special education. I just have to say this. You guys gave me the mic.
Hey, go for it.
I have to go
it.
for it. I understand that we have funds that come down for students that have certain needs. And when people think of special education, they think of it being, the student is on I don't want to say lower performing, but of the spectrum. But then special education can also be for our gifted students. Students that you want to try to keep that fire going in them, but you're kind of holding them back because we don't have the necessary resources to say, okay, this student is, beyond this grade. Let's, even though we can't maybe skip them a grade, we can bring in some extra resources to motivate them. And then you have what I'm seeing, I just have to say this. We are looking out for the rights of special education students. That I understand. I totally agree with it. But I think somewhere in the interpretation, we are starting to now put so many demands on them to be in a social setting in the classroom that we're starting to do a disservice to them. I mean, some students need specialized instructions. And
Settings, everything.
Yes. And I just want to advocate for parents. Yes, you want your child to be in a mainstream classroom because you don't want them to feel ostracized or isolated. But you have to put that child first, okay? Sometimes that big social setting is too distracting. And then you'll get more of the behavioral problems because that child doesn't want to be recognized in the classroom as struggling. So then they'll act out. So I'm just encouraging parents to just advocate for your child. What is best for them? And I just would say for special education department to please kind of like, let's go back and look at this and see. And then as large as the class sizes are, I mean, we could, have classrooms a little bit smaller, and then you could still have mainstream, but a child is not overwhelmed by 25, 30 other students.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's it. I just want to ask you one last question real quick here. So if you became principal now and went to school tomorrow morning, what would you change at your school?
I would change the one thing teachers discuss a lot is that you have to have different consequences for different actions. If you curse a bad word, that should have a different consequence than if you hit a teacher, okay? Or if you hit another student. You have to have, just like they want differentiated instructions, you have to have differentiated consequences. But one thing I would probably change right away is I would start with taking some of the mandates from the teacher.
Okay.
We have this thing where you have to put your lesson plans on a computer system.
Okay.
Remember, teachers used to write out their lesson plans in a book. Okay. And that can be quite tedious, especially when you have technical issues and teachers just want to teach. We just want to teach. Yes, you can have these different standards. You want us to align different things too. But if you're choosing the textbooks. The textbook should already be aligned with the standards. You know, teachers shouldn't have to sit there and go, okay, does this lesson align with this and this and that? I mean, you know, give it to us. That's what you want. You're purchasing the books. You're purchasing the materials. Let it all match, and then teachers can just teach.
Yes. As you're talking, more questions are popping into mind. But what do you think that we need to add any more specific subjects? You know, we have math, English, reading, writing, history. But any particular subjects that you think we need to add to the curriculum?
Put the music back in the schools. Science proves this works a different area of the brain. Put music back in school.
So schools here don't have music class?
Some
I can
schools.
only speak for some.
Okay.
I can only
A lot of-
speak for some.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Put music back. I mean, and expand the arts. Yes, you know, you go in the art room with the clay and the paint, but art can be literary art. It can be visual art.
That's right.
You know, expand your art program. And that is what would excite the students. I mean,
Okay.
you're talking about looking for things that make a child want to come to school. I mean, it's getting to the point now, children can learn online. I mean, if you really think about it, you go online, they tell you to read such and such pages and take this assessment. But, you know, schools need to offer something that motivates the student to come. And those arts and sports. I mean, you know, we have the, you know, sports, the inter-island and, you know, district sports. But, you know,
What about
bring the
what
arts.
about a VI history kind of curriculum?
Well, I know at our school we do that. We actually have a VI history quiz bowl that is put on by our fifth and sixth grade teachers. We definitely encourage VI history. And when you look at developing a curriculum, when you look at the Common Core and other curriculums that are brought down, they don't address VI history. And you have to make these students feel they have a worth. You have to make them feel that they've played a part in history.
That's right.
They're reading about everybody else's history and wondering, well, what have we contributed?
Right.
So we need to remind them we were once kings and queens, you know, so take them back. Take
That's
them,
right.
explore their history. I mean, you have to give them some self-value.
Okay. And so when you say that, I guess what you're saying is that the Department of Education is maybe against that, or they're still working on how they're going to implement that, or
Work on different
No,
curriculum.
I'm not going to say that because we do have a department now that deals with culture. I think it's cultural education. I know
Okay.
they had it when I first got here in 2007, and I think that it changed over time, and now it's a cultural. I think the lady name is Miss Benjamin. So I will say, I will give kudos to the department and the teachers for keeping that VI history alive and that culture.
okay.
Okay.
All right, Miss Allen, I want to thank you for coming to our studio tonight and giving us some insight on education, teachers, and everything related to the Virgin Islands here.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Allen, you're not going to be a stranger, you know. You're going to be you're part of the family now, so we expect to see you in the coming future again.
Yes, and maybe you can bring maybe another couple teachers,
A principal,
a principal,
guidance counselor, anybody.
yeah, that can, because we want to, education is key, and so we have to sort of keep this thing kind of going.
Keep pounding it, let them know that, you know, it's part of what we do here in the Virgin Islands, that we want to educate our youths.
I will definitely encourage that because, we not only teachers but administrative and even the district can get a little bad publicity sometimes. And I think, if they have the professional public relation offices, but to get back down to the grassroots and, touch the community on all different levels, I'm going to encourage that. I'm going to speak to my AFT president, Ms. Rosa Soto Thomas, who I must give kudos to. She has our AFT on such a professional level, and she fights for us. And, in the same time, she still works with the district and the department to make it better for the teachers and the students. So I'd like to give a shout out to her as well, and I'm going to encourage her to come. She has a lot of things that she can say and put out there in the community. The union is doing wonderful things, reaching out to the community. I am currently the membership chair of AFT, and we're trying to encourage members to become more community involved. And back to the caller that had mentioned teachers, getting teachers to be more enthusiastic. You know, I can say the teaching profession, like any other profession, is not 100% perfect. But in my experience in the different aspects of education, I tend to find that you have well more teachers that get up in the morning and come with enthusiasm to teach. And, you know, sometimes they're just met with a lot of challenges as soon as they come in the door.
Okay.
And one other thing I like to say, if we can do more after-school programs, I feel like that too is like that bridge, that connection between the community and the schools. Like I say, I'm currently doing an after-school program, Education Connections, which is being funded by the 21st Century. The organization I work for is VI Jago Jiu-Jitsu Parental Committee. So that was a parental committee that has come together to do an after-school program. So we're looking to bring parents and get them more involved. So we're doing that.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, don't get me started. I'll talk all night now.
Well, we like to say 8 p.m. until, so hey. But we'll leave it at that. Miss Allen, we want to say thank you for coming out and giving us some insight to many things as it pertains to the school system here, education, yourself, and how hard the teachers are working and how important education is. You know, that's the key to everything.
Yes, I tell my students all the time, if you don't like your current situation, education is the way out of it.
Yes. Thanks for coming out once again.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully you'll be back soon. And we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Allen.
This is the High Tech Low Tech Studio. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.